Last season, Manchester United finished with 66 points. They've already matched that this season, and are now looking to get as many more as possible. So next season, they'll be aiming to go one step further. But how exactly do Manchester United win the Premier League? With the transfer window coming up, Manchester United are always rumoured to signing many players, which is why the sponsor for this video, OneFootball, is the best app for you to download. To keep up to date with all the latest football news, scores, information surrounding your team, downloading OneFootball is a no-brainer. Here on Manchester United's profile, we can see a news story of Bruno Fernandes makes a Man United contract demand that Paul Pogba must stay. Very interesting actually, we are coming to that later in the video. Also that Thomas Tuchel pushes Chelsea to call Real Madrid about Man United target Rafael Varane. So don't miss out on all the transfer news which is coming out now. Click the link in the description to download OneFootball on your phone. The 2020-21 season was all about progression for Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. In terms of goals scored and goals conceded, in the 2019-20 season they scored 66 but conceded 36. With 32 Premier League matches played so far, they've scored 64 and conceded 35. So it looks like they're on track to score more goals but also concede more goals. However, it is to the expense of winning more Premier League matches. After 32 games played this season, they've got 19 wins compared to last season they only had 14 wins. Against the other so-called Big Six sides, their record this season hasn't been as good, because their record last season was impressive. They had 18 points out of 30 available, 5 wins, 3 draws and 2 losses. This season, so far at least, out of 27 points, they've only had 11, that's with 2 wins, 5 draws and 2 losses. Doing better in these matches and getting back to that record that they had in 2019-20 is crucial for Manchester United if they want to win the league. Overall, last season there was good form from February until the end of the season, going on an unbeaten run of 14 Premier League matches. However, that form didn't really carry on at the start of this season. They began with 3 losses in their first 6 league matches. But since then, from the 7th of November to now, they've only lost 1 Premier League match, and that was to Sheffield United. Now they're on another unbeaten streak from the end of January and a 5-match win streak in the Premier League. The start of the season really hurt their points total. With no pre-season or real preparation, it hurt their performances. So this is a big positive for Manchester United. Once they get fully fit and up and running, they've had a pre-season, they've played a few matches, then their form becomes better. So from their point of view, going into next season with a pre-season, technically their performances should somewhat be to the standard that they are now. Going into next season, I think Manchester United are really getting an understanding of who their more important players are. They've already had some standout performers this season. For example, Luke Shaw. He's only started performing better and to a high standard over the last 7 or 8 months. So going into next season, he is a really important player. Their other top performers this season and first team players are Bruno Fernandes, of course. Aaron Wan-Bissaka always plays at right back. Paul Pogba, whenever he's fit, always goes into the team. Marcus Rashford has now scored 20 goals in back-to-back seasons. And a player who's been on the team sheet for every single match since he's joined Manchester United is the captain, Harry Maguire. He's in fact not missed 1 minute of Premier League football since he's joined Manchester United. And never mind these players being standout performers for Manchester United, they've been standout performers in the whole of the Premier League. For key passes, Bruno Fernandes has the most in the Premier League with 89, and Luke Shaw has the 5th most with 62. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has won 84 tackles, and that is the 4th most. Successful dribbles, Marcus Rashford is the 3rd most with 80, and then with 58 interceptions is Harry Maguire, which is the 3rd most in the Premier League. And Pogba hasn't exactly got a standout statistic, but we don't need that. We know how influential he is to United. In Manchester United's last 3 Premier League matches, Paul Pogba has had an assist in each of them. Will Paul Pogba be at Manchester United next season? Every single transfer window there seems to be a report that he will leave the club, but possibly now, with things changing, if they win the Europa League, if they go into next season with a trophy under their belt, with this optimism of a better Premier League season and the potential of winning the Premier League next season, I think it might make Pogba stay at the club. Under Jose Mourinho, I don't really think we knew Paul Pogba's best position in the team. It always used to be a debate that we talked about over and over: where does Paul Pogba fit into Manchester United? So I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserves credit for finding a position which works for Pogba in this left midfield role. One particular reason I think it really works well for Pogba is his aerial ability and strength really comes into play. With any crosses on the right side of the pitch, they come into the box and Pogba is there, because he's tucking in a little more from the left and he's higher up the pitch anyway, leading to him winning aerial duels in the box where he can look to shoot himself if he can control the ball, or lay off to another player where they can look to shoot at goal. We can see in those last 3 Premier League matches, he's had 10 out of 13 aerial duels won, 12 successful dribbles, 5 interceptions, 4 tackles won and 5 key passes. If Manchester United really do have aspirations of winning the Premier League next season, Paul Pogba has got to be in the first team. Before the next bit, if you could please like the video, it really helps the videos in getting found. And this year we're trying to push that subscriber count up, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, it would be very much appreciated. So going back to this first 11 that we're building here, even though Pogba's really good in that left midfield role, that is where Rashford starts. It's where Rashford has been able to score 20 goals in back-to-back seasons now, but for sure Pogba will find himself in this position throughout a season. Elsewhere in the team then, at goalkeeper you haven't exactly got a certain starter. At the moment you've got Dean Henderson and David De Gea. Next season it might be that David De Gea isn't at the club anymore, but either way, even if he is at the club, it seems like Ole is favouring Dean Henderson in goal. So for this first 11 I am going to go with Dean Henderson as the goalkeeper. What you get with him in goal is someone who likes to come out and claim the ball. Depending on the situation, it can make it easier for the defenders. Sometimes you see when David De Gea's in goal, he could just do that little better in coming out and grabbing the ball himself. And then the final player I'm going to put into this first 11 before we get on to transfers is Mason Greenwood on the right. Now Manchester United have needed a proper right winger for years. Last summer we know what happened. They were looking at Jadon Sancho and that signing didn't go through. With him not arriving at Manchester United, they then went on to sign Amad Diallo and Facundo Pellistri. And more so on Amad Diallo, they spent a lot of money on him and he does look the better out of the two. Now of course Amad Diallo is slowly coming into the team because his ability isn't up to scratch with the first team and definitely not the ability of Jadon Sancho. However, I see that as them signing a right winger and not planning on signing another right winger this summer. They've got Mason Greenwood who can play in that position, he's been doing it well recently. They've got Amad Diallo who's going to be slowly coming into the team and definitely more next season. So currently I don't see right wing as a priority for Manchester United to sign a player in this position. I think there's other positions on the pitch where if they sign a player he can have more of an impact than them signing a right winger. And in the last month or two we've been able to see the Mason Greenwood that we saw last season, scoring goals with powerful finishing and tricky in 1v1 situations. So with that being said, it leaves us with a striker. It looks like Cavani might be leaving the club, a new defensive midfielder ready to replace Nemanja Matic, a midfielder to play game in game out like a Harry Maguire but instead in the midfield. And talking of Harry Maguire, I think they need someone else to go alongside him. I think with new players in these positions it can have the biggest impact on their performances. For example, with a defensive midfielder, I think if you sign somebody here it can have the same impact that Bruno had but instead in the defence rather than the attack. So let's look at the options that they have in defensive midfield. The first option you'd look at would maybe be Declan Rice at West Ham United. At the moment they've got Jesse Lingard on loan there. He's doing really good. I think West Ham will want to sign him permanently, so it makes you think, and there was a report about it, could Man United do a swap deal for Declan Rice and Jesse Lingard? Now I think Declan Rice is a very good player, however like David Moyes said recently, he'd want big cash for Declan Rice. I think United can go elsewhere and get another player who can have the same impact on the team for a lot less money. He has been a great performing defensive midfielder, so has Wilfred Ndidi for many seasons now. I'd probably say he is the best player for this position, but again he's a very expensive target. Manchester United signed Harry Maguire for big money, Leicester City will be asking the same if not more for Wilfred Ndidi. Another option in the Premier League would be Basuma at Brighton. He's a top player and he's proved himself in the Premier League being strong in defence. He plays in a midfield too at Brighton with an energetic style about him. He is 24 now, so he's not exactly a young Premier League prospect anymore, but maybe what lets him down that little bit is the extra quality when passing the ball. Other than that, if Manchester United did sign Basuma, I think they've got a very good player in him. But once again, it's another player from a Premier League club. Brighton will ask for a lot of money from Basuma, especially if Manchester United come calling. You've got extra money on the value because it's another Premier League team, and you've got extra money on the value because it's Manchester United. I think looking in the other European leagues to try and get a top player for a cheaper price is the logical thing to do, and that's why my pick for Manchester United's defensive midfielder would be Manuel Locatelli. The 23-year-old Italian at Sassuolo has been one of the best performing players in the Italian league. Firstly, in defence, he's won the second most tackles in the league with 68 as well as 45 interceptions. In terms of his passing quality, he's completed 135 accurate long balls, which is the 6th most in the league, and that's with a 64% success rate. 202 progressive passes is the 4th most in the league, and then Locatelli has 216 passes which have entered the final third, and that is the most in the league. He has his defensive qualities, but he's also got some fantastic passing stats to go with it. As a player who can sit deeper on the pitch and stay further back when in possession, Locatelli becomes a great player. United have been better with being patient on the ball, waiting for an opening to score a goal. Keeping possession deeper and then looking to break, Locatelli would be really useful in this system. As United are looking to get into more advanced positions and are safely keeping possession, Locatelli can be that teammate to rely on to collect the ball. From there, he can potentially play that long ball up the field, getting the ball into the final third in a quick manner as the team looks to break. And this is what I mean when I'm saying they need a defensive midfielder, but also someone that can make it easier for them to attack the opposition. Locatelli becomes a new outlet in the midfield to progress the ball. Out wide or through the centre into a dangerous position, he's the one who's kick-starting the attack for the team. Plus at Sassuolo he plays in a midfield partnership, so at United he would be playing in the same position. I think this is the formation that Ole is sticking with now instead of going to a lone defensive midfielder. There are reports of a transfer this summer for him, but nothing to Manchester United as of yet. Man City, Juventus and Arsenal are all teams reported to be interested. I believe this is a great transfer for many clubs with a reported price of around 30 to 40 million pounds. It's a brilliant price for a quality player and definitely cheaper than the players you'd be signing from the Premier League. So that's defensive midfielder sorted. Let's look at a striker. Your obvious options in this position are Harry Kane and Erling Haaland. As well as being the obvious choices, they're also the very expensive choices. With United being so close to getting the team there and challenging for the title, they'll only get there if they sign multiple players. And if they want to sign multiple players, if they want to get Locatelli and then another striker and a centre-back, I don't think you can be spending a big fee on Kane or Haaland. I think either out of the two, then Haaland is the more realistic over Harry Kane. I think it becomes very hard to get Harry Kane out of Tottenham. It sounds like Daniel Levy doesn't want to let him go to another Premier League club, so there's a slight possibility of Haaland going through this summer. If he is a priority signing and they really want to get him over another striker, then they'll push to get that deal sorted. But let's say they want to look at somebody else, they don't want to spend as much money. There is reports over this player that I'm going to suggest anyway, and that is Andre Silva. The Portuguese striker, now 25 years of age, plays for Frankfurt in the Bundesliga, and this season has been very impressive in terms of scoring goals. He scored 24 goals and got 7 assists in the league. One of the big reasons as to why I've chose Silva over other strikers is his ability to score headed goals. It's a quality that they need to keep. They've had it with Cavani, and Cavani has scored the second most headed goals in the Premier League this season. Silva also has the second most headed goals, but in the Bundesliga with 6. We've seen how useful this quality is when Cavani's been in the team, and with a new younger striker, they need to find someone else who's got this same trait. Out of the 24 goals he's scored, 6 of them were penalties, so it's still an impressive 18 goals from open play. All of them have come inside the box, once again exactly what Manchester United need. Out of the top 10 goal scorers in the Bundesliga, no player averages a closer distance to goal when shooting. Silva has an average of 12.6 yards from goal when shooting, making himself very close to goal, and as such giving himself an increased chance of scoring as it becomes harder for the goalkeeper to save. He has the second most shots in the Bundesliga with 99, and he's got a conversion rate of 24%. There's always the question, especially with strikers, as to whether they can adapt to the Premier League, which is something you never really know. At 25 years of age, he's had experience of playing in different leagues and having to adapt his game as he moves around. I think this is what has morphed him into the proper number 9 that he is now, after he's learned his trade in the Bundesliga most recently, La Liga, Serie A and Liga NOS with Porto. His time in Italy with AC Milan was tough. He scored 2 goals in the league that season. However, as he's moved on, in 2018-19 he scored 9 goals in La Liga with Sevilla, 2019-20 12 goals in the Bundesliga with Frankfurt, which brings us to the present day of 24 goals in the league. The progression can be seen season upon season, which suggests he's learned these qualities now and can play against the best no matter where. With a reported price of around £30 million, it might be a deal worth completing for Manchester United. And then finally, Manchester United need a centre-back to go alongside Harry Maguire game in, game out. My choice for the centre-back they should sign is Sven Botman. Playing for Lille in France, 21 years of age, most importantly with Sven Botman though, is that he is left-footed, and that is what United need in a new centre-back. He's playing in a Lille side that have only lost 3 league matches this season, and have conceded the least goals with 20 in 33 matches. And there is real interest from Manchester United in the player, according to reliable journalist Fabrizio Romano. And Botman has played a huge part in that. He's won the 5th most aerial duels with 111, with a success rate of 68%. He's got the 2nd most ball recoveries in the league with 344. Only 10 fouls committed out of the top 50 defenders based on minutes played in the league. 10 fouls committed by Botman is the least. And his passing too has also been very good. 149 progressive passes is the 8th highest in the league. And Sven has only missed 1 league match this season. His fitness is very good and he's been clear of injury for many seasons. You do have to be cautious to say whether he can be ready for another step up. He only signed for Lille last summer, so there might be doubts over his ability to step up to the Premier League so quickly. But at the same time, what he's shown in France this season is impressive, and that is exactly why Manchester United are interested in him. So that'd mean that the first 11 looks something like this. When you sign a left-footed centre-back, you'd think that Botman would go on the left, but that is where Maguire has always played for Manchester United. And even though Harry Maguire is right-footed, he is still good as the left centre-back. You see him many times running up the pitch and then doing long passes on the left flank for Luke Shaw to run onto. But when you switch with Botman on the left and Maguire on the right, you've then got 2 players players who can do outswinging passes. It would be a change of system because then you're thinking, are you disrupting what Maguire has gotten used to? But I think in terms of the passing, then it works better with Botman on the left and Maguire on the right. In the midfield, Pogba would start alongside Locatelli. With these two players, you've got a good balance of qualities, Locatelli being the more defensive player, but they both have really good passing qualities. Your creativity in the team is then coming from Pogba, Fernandes, Rashford, Luke Shaw, and Wan-Bissaka has been improving with crosses into the box too. There is talk and a few rumours that Manchester United want to sign a backup right back though, and I think this would be a good idea to sign a more creative right back. It would balance the creativity side of things on the left and the right. And then with that front three, Marcus Rashford, Andre Silva and Mason Greenwood, there is a lot of goals there. As stressed, Marcus Rashford 20 goals in back-to-back seasons. Mason Greenwood is starting to get back to the form that we saw last season, and Silva, we'd have to see how he gets on in the Premier League, but right now in the Bundesliga he's doing so good. I think these signings might just be the extra players that Manchester United need to contend for the title. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on what players you would sign in the summer. I recommend that you don't miss out on future videos. Subscribe to Route 1 and like the video if you did enjoy.